Imagine that one person who actually gets excited when the temperature drops below freezing, the one who's thriving in January while everyone else is planning their escape to somewhere tropical. They're not crazy, they're not just being contrarian. Science shows their brain is literally wired differently than yours. And what researchers discovered about winter people will completely change how you see the friend who says, "I love this weather," while you're shivering and miserable. Stick around, because if you've ever wondered why some people genuinely prefer darkness, cold, and snow over sunshine and warmth, the answer reveals something profound about human nature itself. Hit the subscribe button, like and comment if you are a winter person or a summer person. Here's the truth nobody talks about. Preferring winter isn't about enjoying discomfort. It's about craving a specific type of clarity that summer can't provide. Think about summer for a second. Everything's bright, hot, loud. There's this unspoken pressure to be outside, to be social, to be doing something with all that daylight. It's like the world is shouting at you to maximize every moment. For some people, that's energizing. But for winter lovers, that constant stimulation feels like drinking from a fire hose. Their nervous system isn't asking for more input, it's begging for less. Winter people are often what psychologists call highly sensitive processors. Their brains don't just receive information, they marinate in it. They notice subtleties most people miss, the exact quality of light through a window, the texture of silence after snowfall, the way cold air smells different at dawn versus dusk. In summer, there's too much sensory data coming in too fast. But winter strips everything down to essentials. And for these minds, that minimalism isn't depressing, it's liberating. There's actual neuroscience backing this up. Studies on seasonal preference show that people who prefer winter often have different dopamine regulation. Summer lovers tend to get their dopamine hits from external stimulation, social events, outdoor activities, that buzzy feeling of being where the action is. Winter people, they figured out how to generate dopamine internally through introspection, creative work, deep focus. The cold and darkness don't drain them because they're not dependent on external circumstances for their internal state. And here's where it gets really interesting. Winter lovers often have a completely different relationship with time itself. Summertime feels scarce. The sun's out, so you should be out. Every evening feels like it's racing away from you. There's this low-grade anxiety about wasting the good weather. But wintertime, it expands. When it's dark at 4:30 p.m., there's no FOMO about missing the perfect beach day. The pressure to perform happiness evaporates. You're free to just exist, to read that book, to cook that complicated recipe, to think those deep thoughts you've been putting off. Winter people aren't escaping life, they're actually engaging with it more honestly. They've rejected the cultural script that says happiness must be loud, bright, and constantly documented. Instead, they've discovered that some of life's richest experiences happen in quiet, cold, dark spaces where you're forced to turn inward. Let's talk about the social aspect, because this is where winter preference reveals something crucial about personality. Summer is inherently extroverted. Barbecues, beach trips, outdoor festivals, it's all designed for groups. And if you're someone who recharges through solitude, summer can feel like being trapped in someone else's idea of fun. You can't say, "I just want to stay home," without getting concerned looks, without people assuming you're depressed. But winter gives you permission. "It's too cold to go out" is a socially acceptable boundary. Winter lovers aren't antisocial, they're selectively social. They prefer a handful of meaningful conversations over a backyard full of small talk. They'd rather spend 3 hours with one person they deeply connect with than 30 minutes each with 20 acquaintances. Winter's harshness acts as a natural filter, separating casual interactions from genuine connection. And for people who find shallow socializing exhausting, that's not limiting, that's freeing. There's also something about winter that appeals to people who think in systems and patterns rather than emotions and sensations. Winter has rules. Cause and effect are crystal clear. You don't dress warmly, you get cold. You don't shovel your walk, you can't leave your house. Summer, with its chaotic abundance, can feel overwhelming to systematic thinkers, but winter's constraints create a kind of elegant problem-solving framework. It's a season that rewards planning, preparation, and competence. For people whose brains light up sharp when organizing complexity, winter is intellectually satisfying in a way that summer's randomness isn't. Now, here's the part that might make you uncomfortable. Winter people have often made peace with darkness, both literal and metaphorical, in ways that summer people haven't. They're not afraid of being alone with their thoughts. They don't need constant distraction from the harder parts of being human. They've learned that sometimes sitting with discomfort, with uncertainty, with the less Instagrammable parts of existence is where real growth happens. Winter, with its long nights and bare trees, mirrors that willingness to face what's stripped down and real. This isn't about being depressed. Clinical depression is a serious condition that affects people regardless of seasonal preference. But there's a difference between depression and what philosophers call positive solitude, the ability to be alone without being lonely, to find richness in reflection rather than constant stimulation. And maybe that's the ultimate revelation about winter people. They've figured out that comfort and growth happen in different conditions. Summer offers easy warmth, abundant light, simple pleasures. Winter offers something else entirely, the invitation to become more self-reliant, more introspective, more authentically yourself when nobody's watching. So the next time someone tells you they prefer winter, they're not being difficult. They're telling you something profound about how they're wired. They're saying, I don't need the world to be easy. I need it to be honest. I need space to think. I need the freedom to be quiet without justifying it. I need a season that matches the complexity of my inner life. And in a culture that's constantly screaming at us to be happier, lighter, more social, more visible, choosing winter is a radical act of self-knowledge. The real question isn't why some people prefer winter. It's why we're all supposed to prefer the same things. Winter lovers aren't broken summer people. They're operating from a completely different and equally valid definition of what makes life worth living. And maybe the rest of us could learn something from people who have discovered that sometimes the best version of yourself emerges when the world gets cold, quiet, and real. Thank you for watching. See you in the next topic.